this is kind of standard for professional books at this point. This is a 6x9 space. Okay. And then what we're going to write on, I use, of course, Word documents, but you could use, Google Docs, whatever you're comfortable with. Either way, they're going to transpose into something that looks like this. Okay. So consider that each Word document, if you do it a single space, like just line by line by line by line, like no double space, no anything special, you're going to get about 500 words on that page. Okay. And I've known that because, well, you should know it too, because we both wrote dissertations. So you're going to get about 500 words on that page, maybe a little bit more depending on the size of your words, but that's roughly a good figure. And so know that you're going to, once you get to about 50,000 some odd words on your entire document, and then you shrink it down to a book that's 6x9, you're going to get about 200 pages here. This is about 200 pages. So I'm just kind of giving you a mental framework of how this looks like in scope, just
Wow.
what that looks like.
50,000.
50,000 words will give you a 200-page book that's 6x9.
Wow. Okay.
Now that sounds like a lot, but again, if we're doing this, week by week, that's not at all challenging. Okay, but I just wanted to give you the mental framework. And so here's another one. This is Mitch Gray's.
Okay.
Same size. I have a bit more word count because he uses a lot more white space.
Okay.
In his book. But nonetheless, you should be looking anywhere from 40,000 to 50,000 words. And that'll make a really good, interesting read, because you're going to be able to cover some topics rather succinctly and of interest, right? And so just kind of give you that mental framework up front.
Actually, before we continue, I just want to put a plug. I bought your book. The book arrived.
Take a picture.
No, but here's it. I can't find the book. No kidding. Somebody, I just actually last night, I went back. I told you I was going to follow up. So I went back and I looked to see whether it was delivered. It was delivered. They took the picture. They showed the picture in the front of my home. Right? But I asked everybody in my home. I ordered a book. It was supposed to have arrived March 6th. Where's the book? Did anybody see a book? Nobody can account for the book. So I'm taking it that probably somebody took it.
Oh, you mean from outside?
From outside.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, that is because Amazon, whoever delivered it, right, took the picture. They deliver it in the front of my home, right? But I can't. Where's the book?
Oh, they probably they took a picture and then took the book.
So you're going to be famous now. So well, if they do, guess what? So now that book is going to be making a difference in whoever took it, right?
Oh.
Right. So
it better.
That is even positive for you. But I'm frustrated because the book.
Yeah.
The book, right? But the book is gone.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I want to then
let you know.
Okay, I appreciate that.
No problem.
I want to something good better come of that.
Yeah, I know, but it's okay. If it's gone, I'll get another one, so it's not a problem. The good news is your book is really fairly. It's not. Thank you for not making it expensive. So.
Oh, okay. Well, what's expensive?
Well, I think the price is pretty good, about less than $20. So as a teacher, so that is pretty good. Unlike mine, on the other hand, the first one that I bought, my first book, children's book, right? Depending on the one that you buy, $25, right? So yes, but the non-hard copy is about $14, but the hard copy is $25. But anyway, back to our conversation. I want to be like you. I want to write a book just like you. So you were telling me that the size of your book, if I write about 40 to 50,000 words, at the end of the day, when I, condense it to 6x9, I will get about 200 pages out of it. So I think that is where I interrupted you. Please continue, please.
Okay. Well, again, that's just kind of thinking about what that will look like, and that's very comfortable. It's
Okay,
a comfortable size book.
okay,
And so that's kind of like you're going to be your standard. And so
okay,
just think of it in that way.
okay.
So, and then as we get towards like, we get into the editing and we get into, final revisions and such, I'm going to, I'll give you suggestions or recommendations in terms of who to go to for the cover, because you're going to need a cover. And if you and then starting to think about how you're going to get pre-orders and get your audience really excited about your book. And so there's some branding elements that will come to that, a couple months out of, your first publication, and then determine whether or not you're going to self-publish or publish through a company. We could talk about those options as well, and I could recommend some publication companies, both self-publishing and then one that's going to do all the work for you, so wherever you're at. And again, my book and Mitch's book are all self-published. So
Is there a reason why you didn't go to someone to publish it for you?
yeah, I don't have the money for that.
Oh, okay.
Now, when I sell 1 million copies, I'll have money for it the next time around, but I need to sell my 1 million copies first.
The reason why I sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, good.
The reason why I ask is, with people publishing, they have more, what do you call it? More reach than at least.
Right.
I'm just thinking, for me, I don't know much about publishing, right? So they've been in publishing for quite a while. So I'm just thinking that with publishers, they will have more reach than an individual. So that's why I asked the question. So
Well, I also know this, and so I know some people, because I have conversations with people all the time, who have very large numbers of dedicated followers on LinkedIn.
wow.
And so when they started introducing the fact that they're about to publish a book or they're writing a book and publish it, they pre-ordered, 2-3 months out that they could
Wow.
start pre-ordering. And with those numbers, they easily, once the book was published, and this is self-publishing, they hit Amazon #1 bestseller within a week or so because they already had that following. And so
Right.
if you don't feel that you have enough followers to do that, like I don't have enough followers to do that, that's why I'm doing all of the hard work on the back end, is because I want to start book clubs. I want to use that as a study focus, sponsorships. And so everything that I came to you with, I went to others with. I already do have some bulk buys. And so with those bulk buys come a workshop, but it's also about my brand. And so I want to be a leadership 101 coach. And so that's part of the question guy, walking the path, the coaching, the books, and all those other things are part of my business model.
Okay.
And I also do, am a ghostwriter in per se. And so anything that we do here, any advertisement that you could do for me as a ghostwriter would also be helpful too, because
Okay.
I'm
How do
building
I
that.
do it? How do I? I'm sorry. This is new to me. So
What's that?
how do I advertise you as a ghostwriter? What
You
will
write
what will you
you,
be? Because I don't mind doing it. So give me some suggestion, please. How can
let's get through a couple of sessions, and then you just,
Okay.
say, Dr. McNally is helping me write a book. He's doing really good with XYZ. I feel real comfortable, whatever inspire. But we need to get through some sessions first.
Good day. Good
We need
day.
to do some work.
No problem. Got it.
All right. So let's get into some work. So
Okay.
a couple of days ago, I asked you this is our primary focus, because with this, we build the structure. And so what we're going to do is we're going to build kind of like a hierarchy. Well, in a sense. So we're going to build something like this. So I got 2 lines, and then I've got this big line, and underneath this is umbrella section, or we're going to put all the chapter focuses. So we're going to, that's what our job is today. So I asked you to take a look at or think about who your audience is, who are you writing this book for? Why, what do they need to hear? And what is that message? So hopefully you had the opportunity to think about that.
Oh, yeah, I did.
So who's the book for? Let's get started with that.
Absolutely. Educators and parents.
Educators and parents.
Yes.
Now that's still a big umbrella.
Oh, it is.
So
Okay.
how are we, what educators of whom, parents
Oh,
of whom?
oh, yeah, sure. STEM educators, of course.
Okay.
Yes, STEM educators.
STEM. That's a
That's
smaller focus.
okay.
And parents.
Parents of STEM educate of students interested in STEM.
Okay. Right now it's still broad, but we're better. And so knowing that we're talking about STEM education,
But
what is,
again, but
go ahead.
again, in the BIPOC community, right? In the BIPOC community, the BIPOC, is that still too broad?
Well, that's getting better.
Okay.
So you need to,
The reason why, because that's my focus. That's what I do,
okay.
right? So,
So now I need you to do something for me.
yes,
That acronym is BIPOC.
yes.
What does it stand for?
Black indigenous people of color. And also you can include girls too. So, and girls. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me ask you this.
Yes.
Why is that an important population for you? Because this is now your motivation.
Yes. Yeah. Two possible two reasons. The representation is low. I want this community to be a part of, the innovation. I mean, it's a life changer. I know it because look at my life, right? So,
Well, think of it from the perspective of the community you're writing to. And
yes,
so you mentioned at least one thing. Well, you mentioned 2 things. I think you mentioned they're underrepresented.
yes,
I think that's what you said.
yes, that's
But
what
you
I
did, but you also said it's a life changer.
absolutely.
So those are 2 motivational elements that you need to hold on to or put on the side, just write down that every time you put pen to paper or put your hands to the keyboard, that those 2 things, life changing and unrepresented population, are the reasons why you're doing this. Because this is going to be a long process, and you every now and again you're going to think, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah, I know.
Because the process itself is going to be tedious, and so you need to remember your motivation.
Yeah, and then of course the last part is I'm passionate about it. So that can be, the beginning, the introduction. I don't know where it's going to be, but I am passionate about STEM and STEAM. It's a big deal for me, but there are many stories. I have stories as to why. Also, I want it to be impactful, right? Especially to this community or my community,
Mhm.
because there are low representation.
Okay.
Yeah, so you've seen, if I may expand on that. So you have seen, well, let me use the sport analogy, right? Which everybody knows. There's so much representation, and we don't have an issue, our representation in sports or entertainment. But I want to see, wouldn't it be more interesting to have such much passion as we have towards sports and entertainment, as we should have towards STEAM or STEM. Imagine how life-changing that can be. So I know there's a lot to unpack from that, but again, you asked me.
Well, those things that you're now thinking about, because you gave me an umbrella statement, are going to be the different chapters of your book. And so
Okay,
that's how this book's going to structure out,
okay,
because everything's going to be a focus. Bam, bam, bam. And then the fact that you already have stories to tell that relate to different things is going to be part of your book.
okay.
Okay, so there's nothing that you have that will be wasted. But we need to make sure that it gets in, and then once it gets in, how do we tell it in a very concise and applicable manner? So what's the overall message of the book, the big picture message in a couple of lines?
The overall message of the book is participation in the STEM careers. It's life-changing. It's good for for the health and the economy of our community, right? So that is good for economical development, right? It's good,
Again, your
right?
focus is the BIPOC community,
It's the
so
BIPOC, right?
everything that you talk about has to be for them. They didn't
Absolutely.
they didn't know when they're every word in that book is going to
It's for
change
the
their
BIPOC.
life.
Absolutely.
So
And
what's the
that's
message?
so that's the message. The message is, career in the BIPOC, career in STEAM is life-changing, right? Example is in terms of economy, in terms of health, right? In terms of person. So I can elaborate and go on as what I mean by an individual, right? So it can be really life-changing, and that is what I want to see. But again, I have my I know what I want to say may not be as organized and stuff, but I want to be as raw as I can be, so you can help me manage all this. So let's take for example. Um, you and I know. So how do I put this? I'm able right now. I'm positioned to be able. This is just a side story. My children's life will never be the same because I am in STEM, right? And my perspective is in STEM, right? My approach is in STEM. The way I look at life is in terms of STEM. And that has a major implication as to success and self-determination and all that, and their choice of career, right? So they are not going to be lacking as to getting a good job or the process of getting a good job because of me and my wife, right? Because we're college educated, right? So this changed the trajectory of my family forever, right? And now we know life happens. Things don't always, at least that's the assumption. Comparable to someone who have never heard of STEM, right? So they don't have the opportunity, the foundation, or the ability to be able to set their children on the path. Not to say that STEM is the answer. I'm just saying, when you think about the starting median salary for someone who has a STEM degree is $91,000. I mean, that's not a chicken change. That is more than most teachers get. Starting teachers, even teachers that have worked for 10 years make in a year. That is major for me. I mean, so you can understand why I feel what I feel. So you ask me, what is my end goal? My end goal is to be able to see more representation, more of the young generation participating in the career in STEM field or STEAM field, because it can be a life changing for them. So Anyway, that's the story behind that I can pin to that question. I did I answer your question, or did I?
You did really good. And so what I wanted to accomplish today, and we may
Yes.
not do it today, is for you, and I may leave it as quote unquote homework for you, and we'll pick it up next week, is
Got it.
now that you have a focus and you know what you want to talk about, think about each of those things that you want to talk about and clarify them so that they are their own topic for a chapter. And so, but I think I'm gonna leave that at homework, because what you said just now to me, I think we need to flesh out, because that's more of the foundational element and can easily be part of the introduction. Is you said and very almost STEM is how I perceive life, is kind of what you said, how I raise my children, how I think about my world. This isn't verbatim, but it was in such a way that we need to dig deeper into that. You need to dig deeper into that. And we need to have that conversation, because there's power there, and we need to be able to put it in words. So when you tell me that STEM is how I'm making sure something doesn't fall over here. STEM is how you kind of perceive life. What does that mean to you?
So it's a question. Okay. So yeah. So take for example, problems. If there are problems, how do I approach it? I approach it through science and engineering uh, practices. I want to solve problem. I approach it through what? Science and engineering practices. I mean, I find myself, and my wife will tell you too. I mean, you're very analytical, right? There's a certain way in which you process things, right? It's not based on emotion at all. So where did you learn? Where did I learn all of that? I wasn't born with it, right? But I learned it through the rigor, through the process that I've went through uh, my involvement with STEM and STEAM. I learned it in all the courses that I've taken in science, in mathematics, and engineering, and technology. There is a process, right? So that is how I look at life. And when I'm raising my children, that's literally how I cause them to think. But you want to make a decision, you have to think about the pros and the cons, right? Right? It's just that's just the way it is. So you just don't make decision just from the fly. Uh, Even let's say if you have a job, you don't like your job, I mean, you just don't quit, right? I mean, you have to process, there's a process that you go through before you actually leave, right? Um, so there is a power in that, right? Especially for our community that goes through a lot of type of experience, and for the young people that are coming aboard, that are coming along. So that's what I mean. But I haven't really, until now that I'm having a conversation with you, I know what I know. But again, I haven't have a chance. Nobody has even, well, have a chance to even have a conversation as to, oh, all right, I look at life this way, but really, can you expand on that? Right? So that is an opportunity. This is an opportunity, right? To, have that conversation. So
And this is the conversation that you need to be able to put down on words. You need to write about, because you just said to me that understanding science is more than just a study, an observation of the world. It actually gave you a methodology to think about the world. And that's the deeper element here. And the same thing with engineering. Engineering is not just about building something to solve it. It actually gave me a process to solve problems. So it's not just about solving a specific problem, it's a model to solve problems. And so I need you to, like between now and next week, start putting that down into words, because that's a good way of introducing the idea of STEM education to to teachers and parents. It's not just about the end goal of making a decision. It's about understanding the process of making decisions. And that's completely different. So now that now that we got, in case you didn't write that down, that's what I want you to do. You've got this to go back and review.
Yeah.
In that really should be the power, at the very least, if not the introduction, maybe chapter 1, because we're going to now explore the power of STEM education. It's not just about solving a problem, it's understanding how to solve problems, and it helps you grow. It has framed your thinking so much that it has empowered you to solve any problem.
Yeah.
But you need to be able to put them in words, in your own words.
Yeah, now you're challenging me, man.
Well, that's, you got to write the book. I can't, I mean, I'll write if you want to, I'll write your book.
No. Yeah,
you pay me.
sure. Yeah, of course. So, yeah. We'll talk about that too. So it can be a collaboration too. So I don't mind collaborating. So, I will do that. I definitely will do that. So I will address, I'm up to the challenge. What you said that I should do, I will go ahead and I'll do it by next week. So the only other question that I have is, I know you're a coach and this is what you're doing. So in America, one thing that I have learned, nothing is for free. So how do I compensate you? So let's talk about that. So
Okay.
how do you benefit? Because it will not even sit well with me if you're just doing it for free, right? So let's talk about that as a coach. Please go ahead.
Right now, I'm
Yeah.
just coaching you on framing it and all that. And so tell
Okay.
people, you can tell people, I'm helping you do that. And that's cool, because I could help other people do that as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I really will. It's not a challenge.
Okay.
I can.
But that's only part of it. So the
Okay.
other part is, if you really want me to, if you want to talk this through, and I have these videos and I know what you want to say, and at the end of the day, you say, I don't think I could put this into words, I'll ghostwrite it for you. It'll be
Okay.
your book, but
Okay.
I'll write it.
Okay.
But that will cost money. So I don't think we're at that stage yet. I'm not worried about it.
Okay.
The only thing I really want though is, I gotta sell 1 million copies and you're gonna help me. I don't mean you're gonna buy 1 million. I'm just saying that with your connections, your professional connections, not just in your charter school, but wherever you have connections. I think one of the things that you said earlier that has me thinking is that it would probably been a good idea, for you and your colleagues at your charter school to do a book study on this. And so
Yeah.
that may not happen, but what I was thinking is, I would like, so now I'm actually, since you kind of told me that, is I'm reaching out to everybody who's bought the book and say, hey, can we start a book study with you and your colleagues or friends,
Right.
or whoever you like, let's put 5-6 people together
Yeah.
and have each of them buy it, and like in a once a week.
No,
Like,
one chapter a week. One chapter a
well,
week.
I was thinking like 3 chapters a week, because there's 16 chapters,
Okay.
and I don't think people are going to want to spend 4 months looking at the
Oh
book.
my God. You don't, I don't know whether you want them to read 3 chapters a week, because they because of people's busyness.
You
Right.
don't understand. You could read a chapter in 10 minutes. I mean, this is a really simple read.
That's fine. I look. Well, it's just well. Again, you know better. Just so
I know somebody who read this on a weekend. Like, come on.
whoa, in a weekend.
Yeah,
Wow.
she read it in a weekend. So
She must be a fast reader. right?
Well, yeah, I don't know. But what I'm saying is that sharing ideas and sharing this book, I need to sell 1 million copies this year. And
No
so
problem.
we do this, and then next year, once you get your book, we're going to sell 1 million copies of your book.
No problem. Got it. Guess what? Amen. So guess what? I will do it. Right. I will do my part. So no problem. As a matter of fact, maybe the next podcast that I'm going to do. So maybe I'll do mention your book. Done it. I don't have the book on me, right? But I will mention your book. I will say it because I never know who watches or listen. But at the end, towards my closing, I know, I don't know. So I would say a friend of mine, wrote a book called Walking the Path. His name is Kit, Dr. Kit McNally. Please go ahead and buy his book. Don't forget to donate to me too, right? That's another thing that I need to start put it on my podcast, right?
Absolutely.
I really need to do that. So if that is okay with you, I can do that too. Will that be okay? Is that a good way to?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Every word of mouth is good.
Excellent. I really appreciate you taking the time. So I'm happy that I'm starting this journey with you.
Okay.
So thank you for your mentorship. You're always supportive. So one last question. I know you got to go. So the conference that you're putting together in August, the summit. So, well, I'm excited for you. So, yeah, that's pretty good. So, where is it going to be? So, what will it look like? I mean, is it going to be virtual? Is it going to be in person? So, who are going to be the guest speakers and all that good stuff?
So it's a virtual all-day event. The format Jane and I are still kind of working through. I've
Okay.
got some ideas. Because I don't want it to be like speaker, then speaker, then speaker, then speaker. I think that would be rather boring. But so I need to work with Jane. It is virtual. It's on August 31st. So it's really kind of where most educators are in terms of it's end of summer, and then it's just prior to school starting.
Yeah.
So we should get plenty, cross fingers, we're gonna market the heck out of it come, June, July, August. May, June, July, August. So one, virtual. Two, it's intercontinental. So we have speakers from United Kingdom. Dr. Poe's coming out of Canada, of course. We're speaking from Canada. And I've got 4 speakers here in America. So I have Kara Tyrell, and she's up in Vermont. I have Shakita Jackson. She's a pastor here in Virginia. I've got Alicia Richardson. She's here in Virginia. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so let's hold on to 1, 2, 3. Jane herself is going to be speaking. So Jane Bell is she teaches on time management skills for educators and specifically high school educators, but all educators. She's out of the UK. Emily Payne, or Emily Madge Payne, she likes to put in her Madge because that's her author name. She wrote a book called Inner Buddy, and Inner Buddy is it was originally designed to help her deal with anxiety. And so from that, she, her therapist said, you either have to talk about it, you have to get it out, you have to talk about it, or write a book. And so she actually wrote a book, but it was designed to, it's behind me. It's designed for 6, 7, 8, 9-year-olds. She's now picking up the idea that she should have one for teens and one for adults. And so she's going to focus on helping young people with stress and anxiety through her book. Deborah Brown is a grief specialist. She's a certified grief specialist. And so she's teaching, and she's also in the UK, she's teaching teachers how to address and deal with kids who are dealing with loss, and so grief and loss. So this goes beyond Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's construct. This is kind of what words do we use? How do we enable students to release and allow people to feel, because what we don't allow these days is for people to actually feel legitimate, authentic feelings, and we bottle them up and we do all kind of stupid stuff and behaviors.
Yeah.
So she's teaching her school staff across the UK how to help students deal with grief and loss. Sam Monet, he is a teenager specialist. He's got some type of program. I really need to, he's new to me. He's a new connection. I'm still learning about what he does, but I know his focus is teenagers. So I mentioned Alicia Richardson. Actually, her son was born developmentally delayed, and so she's been an advocate for IEP services, individual
Yeah.
education plan services, to help empower parents deal with IEP and IEP systems in schools. And so that's going to be her focus. Dr. Potan is going to talk about equity in education and STEM education. Jane Bell, like I said, time management. Liz Keeble, she is a metacognitive specialist. And so she's been talking about how to use metacognitive
She's on
strategies.
LinkedIn, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
tag her a lot
yeah,
and support all of her work. She
yeah,
actually has I think a weekly newsletter
yeah,
that talks specifically about metacognitive, but not just in terms of teaching strategies, but
yeah.
also in support. So whole school system strategies to include metacognitive elements,
Very
so that
important.
learners understand that learning is not just about learning content, it's
Mhm.
about learning, but how to be really fully engaged in the learning process. And so
Yeah,
that's what makes her so valuable. And I think that's really it. So Alicia,
yeah.
Kara, Deborah, Dr. Poe, Emily, Jane, Liz, Sam, and Jane. And so I think I've,
So in terms of Jane, I think maybe not Jane, the teacher the educator who is writing on anxiety. Can you recommend to her that a lot of times when we think about anxiety, especially as educators, we always focus on the students.
Mhm.
I don't know if she've considered writing a book on anxiety that focus on teachers themselves, because teachers, to be honest with you, go through a lot of tremendous anxiety too. I know, and we don't like talking about it. So,
Well,
so
that would not be Emily Payne's focus. Her
okay,
focus is um, being able to deal with it at a very personal level. And right now her focus is young kids. She's just now being able to talk about it at a more, high school, teenage level. And then of course for adults as
okay,
well. She's not a teacher per se, but because of her experiences with her own stress and anxiety,
yeah,
she basically had a breakdown,
yeah,
and then was able to write about it. That conversation, you should probably have that conversation with Jane. Jane is very much a teacher advocate.
yeah,
And so she wants to help teachers just be successful in all, but very much in the time management frame, because uh, there's a lot of responsibility in being a teacher.
yeah,
And in order to be a successful teacher, you have to do a lot of things: planning, mental preparation, strategic elements, and all those kind of things. And then in a lot of ways, like many people, but it's really more unfair for them because their pay scale is so low
yeah,
that that time spent preparing is never really paid for. And so a
yeah,
lot of teachers, in order to be successful in the classroom, do take work home so
yeah,
they can kind of prep,
yeah,
especially like on a Sunday, like
yeah.
today, like
Mhm.
they're now focused on all of
Prepare for
next week.
tomorrow, right?
Yeah,
Right.
all of next week,
Yeah,
which is really unfair. I mean, I don't think
it
many,
is.
I don't think about tomorrow's work
It is
because,
unfair. It is
yeah,
unfair. Let's call it as it is.
yeah, yeah. And
And I think that I think she's doing. I saw her. I think tell her that I reached out to her to try to connect because I like the way
this is
she.
Jane Bell, right? The skinny
Yeah,
one?
yeah, Jim
Okay.
Bell, right. Jim Bell, tell her that I could try to connect with her, but for some reason, or we were unable to connect. But the reason why I wanted to connect with her is part of my dissertation,
Mhm.
literally, was on time. The challenges teachers had with time, right?
Oh,
Special
okay.
science teachers. So, and when she was saying in your podcast, she was saying that she's coaching. At least that's what doing, coaching teachers how to manage
Yeah.
time. And that resonated with me, right? And I was thinking, well, maybe Jane and I could collaborate on something, but for some reason we were unable to connect. So
So
it
you're
is,
not first level connections?
we're not first level connection, no.
I'll put us in a three-way conversation on LinkedIn, and
Okay.
I don't think she'd have a problem with that.
I would like that very much because I like what she's doing. Tell her that I'm rooting for her.
I sure will.
So thank you. Thank you so much, Kate. I really appreciate your time.
Okay. Well, before we hang up this call, what's your homework?
My homework is to dig a little deeper to try to understand, I guess, how do I write the narrative as to why STEM is really important and for
Well, right now, between now and next Sunday, I want you to go back, well, listen to this recording. But
okay,
again, you said that STEM is your pathway to success
yeah,
because it gave you the fundamental thinking strategies to solve problems. And so you need to dive deeper into that and really flesh that out as much as you can. What processes are you talking about? Give stories to support it, and then think about how I'm going to put this. Think about how that would be applicable for the BIPOC community specifically. You know, it makes sense to you. It may not make sense to everybody, but so you have to tell them in a certain way without like lecturing the BIPOC community through your words that this is empowering, life-changing. You don't have to use these words specifically, but I'm just saying that when you learn to appreciate the processes that science and STEM education give you, you can better help yourself be successful because you'll learn how to solve problems more effectively. So in whatever framework you could put that, that's really, we need to flesh that out and build on that because that's the foundation, I think, that your book has.
okay,
What you've been telling me.
okay, no
So
problem.
you need to put that at least 500 to 1,000 words.
Oh, wow.
Again, so we'll start with 500. We'll start with
Okay, okay.
one page.
All right, no
Start with
problem.
one page.
Got it, got it.
But again, you're gonna have to dedicate at least an hour a week to writing, to literally
Yeah,
writing.
I will do that. I will do that. Wow, you give me a homework. I'm not supposed to have a homework, kid.
Well, your book is your homework. I mean, if you
I
want to get
know,
it
I
done
know.
in a year,
So how do you get your ideas? I mean, man, does it come easy
yeah,
for?
it just comes to me.
Wow,
I'm
this
just a
is
writer.
incredible.
But not everybody, appreciates. I need to find a larger audience, not just LinkedIn. So I
Yeah,
connected with some other people who have like platforms to put my content, writing content out there. And so
right.
Reedsy is one of them. 360 Business Nations is another one. And so if you're interested in writing content,
Well, I write a lot of stuff. Do you ever read my what have I post like recently? I've been posting some stuff to not only just the podcast. So I write. I know it's opinion, but I write something. So and I wanted to ask you about that. How does one make money from those things? I mean,
from what?
like writing, blogging or whatever.
Uh, you have to find people who will buy it. It's just
Okay,
like any other business.
okay,
Um, Not easy. So content creation as a business isn't, necessarily easy.
okay,
And you have to have, again, you have to have that specific, in order to make money,
right,
people need to have an audience. And so just like your podcast or my podcast is right now on YouTube.
yeah,
Probably season 4, I'll put it on a podcast platform. Hopefully, again, everything's, founded on, I got to sell 1 million copies. Once I sell 1 million copies, I could do other things.
right,
But every new subscriber to my YouTube channel is a good thing. And so I'm at like 250 plus, but I need to get that to 1,000 by the
yeah,
end of this year. I want to get to 12,000 LinkedIn connections by the end of this year. And so everything is just strategic.
Yeah,
You need the
Buzzsprout.
numbers.
Have you thought about Buzzsprout? I mean, because I put my, even though it is audio, Buzzsprout is really fairly inexpensive. Have you thought about putting it on?
For audio podcasts.
Yeah, you
Um,
can do that too. I mean,
I want to, I've heard Podbean is pretty good, and it's free to start with. And
yeah,
so I'm going to give that a try, because
yeah.
it was on Anchor, but I can't get to Anchor. I think they shut down.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Right now, what I'm doing, I'm using Buzzsprout. So
Okay.
to just do my thing, it's just easy. The reason why I choose it is so easy.
Mhm.
So I take my recordings and I put my title, put the description, put the season. Like now I'm in season 2. I don't do podcasts as much as you do, but I'm season 2 episode,
Cool.
there's going to be episode 3 soon or 4.
Awesome.
So little by little. So if I can do, at least for me, for short time, if I can do 9 episodes a year,
Mhm.
I will be happy. But I want to build as time goes on. If I can do 1 a month, so that would be great. But
I'm
I
gonna.
need because of my time.
All right, I need to jump. It's 10 o'clock, but I want to do two. I want to do two things for you.
Thank you.
I'm going to put you in a conversation, a three-way conversation with Jane Bell, because I think she should connect with you. I don't think that's a
Yeah,
problem.
yeah,
But um, uh, one of my students from when I worked for DeVry, and I used to drive all the way up to Crystal City. They have a campus in Crystal City, Arlington.
nice.
I don't do that anymore. I mean, that this is years ago. Anyway, his name is Gideon Obeng, and he comes out of Kenya, Africa. And I'm gonna share his podcast. And so he started a YouTube channel called Africa Chat.
Yeah.
And it deals with all things culturally specific to Africa that you may or may not appreciate. I don't know, but I think he's got something going. He already has 200,000 subscribers, and he's only been, well, he's got a lot of support. He's a cool guy. He's a cool guy. He's got a lot of support, but on the other side of that, he only has like 1,000 views per video, and so he's got the subscribers but doesn't have the views. And so and he agreed to be on my podcast, and so that's coming up in about a month. I've already had the conversation.
Right,
But he's an awesome guy. Because I wanted to know how and why he did Africa Chat, but
right,
I'm going
right.
to share that. I'm going to put us in a three-way conversation.
Okay,
The two
thank
of
you.
you should probably connect, and then I'm going to share Africa Chat, his YouTube channel, to your email, so you have that.
Okay. How do
Cool.
you connect if I want to connect those? Like I know how people connect different YouTube. Like for example, I connected to you, you connected to mine, and connected to his. Does that help at least with
Well,
people subscribing or people viewing the videos? I mean,
yeah, once you're a subscriber, like I've subscribed to him, is every time he creates a new and publishes a new video, it comes up on my homepage
okay,
once I log in, and so I know that.
okay, okay,
So if you subscribe, it'll when you go to YouTube and you log in to whatever when you log in, your
yeah.
homepage will fill firstly of all the subscribers who have recently published, and then whatever you most frequently watch, of course.
Yours comes up a lot on mine because I subscribe to you. So, do
Well,
you ever?
I'm stuff 2 or 3 videos come out a week.
Man, you are just phenomenal. You're the king. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you meet people and to just invite them. That's just incredible. That's incredible. Thank you so much.
Okay,
God
man.
bless. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.